A very good evening. From stories around the world to stories here at home, this is the National News Broadcast. I'm Vidushni Sadish Kumar.
Good evening, I'm Lakshit Singha, and to start off, we take a quick look at the headlines for tonight.
A consignment of 1.5 million Moderna vaccine doses expected to arrive in the country on Friday. Russia reports the highest single-day fatalities in the last 24 hours. Cabinet approval for an incentive worth 12,500 rupees per hectare for the farmers engaged in the organic fertilizer production. Prime Minister instructs the legal draftsman to prepare legal provisions to protect state sector employees. Minister Keheli Rabukwala says the teachers' protest action while keeping children as collateral is highly unfair. Tokyo Olympic Village declares open.
Minister Pavitra Vanyarachi says a consignment of 1.5 million Moderna vaccine doses is expected to arrive in the country from the United States under the COVAX facility on next Friday. 750,000 doses of the vaccine consignment are expected to be used as the first dose, while the rest as the second dose. Meanwhile, the highest number of vaccines administered in a single day in Sri Lanka was reported yesterday. According to the epidemiology unit, a total of 232,526 vaccines were administered yesterday. The first dose of the Sinopharm vaccine was administered to 173,988 persons yesterday, and the second dose has been administered to 40,276. The first dose of the Sputnik V vaccine has been administered to 13,357 persons yesterday, and 4,725 persons have received the Pfizer vaccine. The second dose of the Covishield vaccine was administered to 180 persons yesterday. Accordingly, a total of 5,720,328 have received the doses of vaccines under the COVID-19 immunization program thus far. A total of 138,855 vaccines have been administered in the last 7 days. An online registration system was introduced yesterday to ease the process to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. The objective of this new system is to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the inoculation process. Accordingly, those who are residing in the Western Province and recommended by the health authorities as eligible to receive the vaccine have the opportunity to register and reserve an appointment to obtain the vaccine through this online system. Vaccine.covid19.gov.lk is the dedicated website for the registration process. The new system was introduced under the guidance of Minister Namal Rajapaksa yesterday. The residents in Western Province can register with the relevant office in the medical health officer based on the address in the NIC to receive the vaccine. Those who have no address in Western Province yet currently residing in the Western Province can register through online system by producing a document to confirm their respective Grama Niladhari division. Those who receive the first dose of the vaccine can also register through the online system to obtain the second dose conveniently. Steps have been taken to initiate this system for the people in other provinces in near future. The COVID-19 vaccination program was successfully conducted today. Accordingly, teachers also received the vaccine today. 86% of the teachers in Western Province were inoculated at 12 noon yesterday. The inoculation program for preschool teachers was commenced today from the Gampha district. The vaccination program for the students who are expecting to travel abroad for education and register to receive the vaccine via Sri Lanka Army official website to prevent COVID-19 was held today at the Narahempita Army Hospital. Meanwhile, Japan has decided to donate vaccines for neighboring Asian countries as well as Pacific and Middle Eastern countries. Accordingly, AstraZeneca vaccine will be donated to many countries including Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh and Cambodia. Japan Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi said that 11 million vaccines will be donated to these countries under the COVAX facility. Meanwhile, consignment of 1 million syringes to be used for the vaccination process arrived at the Katunayak International Airport from Shanghai Airport in China. The interprovincial railway operations will commence tomorrow after a period of 2 months. The Railways Department said that another 14 train services will be included to the railway operations from tomorrow. Meanwhile, the police have taken 224 persons into custody during the last 24 hours for violating quarantine regulations. Accordingly, a total of 49,673 persons have been arrested thus far for such violations. 882 COVID-19 patients were detected in the country today. Meanwhile, 1,328 patients left the hospitals today following recovery. The Health Services Director General confirmed that 41 COVID-19 related deaths were reported yesterday.
President of Sri Lanka Medical Association, Dr. Padma Gunaratne, says that it is important to understand the basic physiological behavior of the coronavirus variants. She further says that both the Delta and the Alpha variants is transmitted in similar ways while causing similar symptoms.
The reason why we keep the country open is not because not adequately sound to keep the country closed for a very long period, particularly for people who are low income people and the people who get daily wages. It would be extremely difficult to be under sort of a long term lockdown or restricted mobility. Therefore, recommendation that one could do for a low income country, there's no other option other than keeping the country open and trying to control the disease to the maximum. Careless behavior of people could precipitate another surge in another 6 weeks or so. The way we behave now would lead to an outcome where that we may end up with another huge surge, at which time that we may not be able to influence at all with regard to fatalities and so on. Therefore, it's extremely important that people understand this basic physiological behavior of this virus. The government should maximally make use of this period to vaccinate the highest number of people as much as possible. So it is actually highly commendable that we vaccinate people. So we plead to all people in the community to make a use of this facility and to get themselves vaccinated, particularly the people above 60 years of age, and for people who are with comorbidities to not to be hesitant to get the vaccination, because vaccinations are fairly safe and that all types of vaccinations that we have protection against the death and for serious illness. Irrespective of whether it is Alpha variant or Delta variant, they both are transmitted in similar ways and they both cause the similar symptoms. The only difference of Delta is that it is with higher transmissibility. In Alpha, if the disease is communicated to 2 more people, the Delta could be spread among 4 or 5 people. So when a higher number of people are infected, there will be higher number of people with complications and there would be higher deaths in case of Delta. The general public, irrespective of whether it is Alpha or Delta, it's important that we take all maximum precautions to see that we do not contract the disease. So for the public, it's adhering to public health measures and to avoid contracting the disease.
First dose of the COVID-19 vaccine has been administered for 120,000 employees in 14 zones belonging to Sri Lanka Board of Investment. Measures have been taken to administer the first dose of the vaccine for those who are yet to receive a vaccine at the beginning of the month of August. These measures have been taken with the assistance of the health and defense sectors. Accordingly, 30% of the 400,000 employees in 1,000 institutes outside these 14 zones are expected to receive the first dose of the vaccine. The priority of the vaccine program was given for apparel and rubber industries, which comprise of the large portion of employees in the BOI projects. 85% of Sri Lanka's exports are contributed through 1,200 factories belonging to Sri Lanka Board of Investment and achieved its best performance in the year 2019.
I'm happy to announce that all the employees in the 14 zones under BOI has been administered the first dose of vaccine as of today. There are about another 1,000 companies outside the zones employing close to about 400,000 employees, of which close to about 35% of the people have got the first vaccine or the first dose. So we hope to complete the full vaccination, at least the first dose, of all employees who are outside the zones as well by mid-August, with the help of the medical staff as well as the Triforces who are assisting in this endeavor. Once we do this, we hope all the factories can come to some level of normalcy and continue the push and achieve the export targets that we have set forth for this year. If you look at the first 6 months of this year, we are just trailing just behind the 2019 export figures, where 2019 was one of the best years ever for Sri Lanka in terms of merchandise exports. And if we continue this normalcy post-vaccination, we expect to beat the 2019 figures in terms of merchandise exports, for which BOI companies contribute to close to 85% in terms of the value of exports.
Now on to a Corona World update. Russia reports 780 coronavirus-related fatalities in the past 24 hours, the highest number of fatalities confirmed in a single day since the beginning of the pandemic. The number of newly registered cases reached 24,702 nationwide for the same period, bringing the total number of cases to 5.7 million. The overall coronavirus death toll in the country stands at 144,492 at present. Experts, however, have indicated that the actual numbers of both infections and deaths are likely much higher due to the misreporting of some deaths and the intentional hiding of others. Russia is struggling with a spike in cases that health officials have blamed on the contagious Delta variant and a lagging vaccination campaign. Only around 15% of the population has received a vaccine, with many citing distrust of the locally developed Sputnik V vaccine as the reason. Despite the surge, the Kremlin has indicated that no plans will be facilitated to impose another national lockdown. Moscow, where the mayor has said the situation is beginning to stabilize after only reporting 4,991 new COVID-19 cases. Nations across the globe hit new pandemic highs and reimposed COVID-19 restrictions as the highly contagious Delta variant forced governments to put the brakes on plans to return to normality. The European Union, lambasted early on in the pandemic response for a botched vaccine acquisition program, said it has delivered enough shots to cover 70% of the bloc's population.
Back here in Sri Lanka, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa instructs the legal draftsman to compile legal drafts to provide suitable protection for the measures taken by the employees of the government and semi-government institutions out of goodwill when fulfilling their duties. These remarks were made during a meeting held at the Temple Trees today to discuss on providing relief for the government and semi-government employees who have been subject to political victimization. The Prime Minister informed the relevant officials to appoint a committee with a senior official from the Attorney General's Department to provide assistance for the drafting of the legal provisions in this regard and submit the recommendations within a period of 1 month. The objectives to provide relief for the government and semi-government employees who have been subject to political victimization were briefed by the Secretary to the Prime Minister, Gamini Senarath. The measures which have been taken thus far in accordance to the decision of the Cabinet of Ministers on November 27, 2019 were explained by the legal draftsman Dilrukshi Samravira and Deputy Solicitor General of Attorney General's Department Viveka Sirivardhana. Secretary to the Ministry of Public Administration J.J. Ratnasiri said that steps have been taken to present a cabinet paper consisting of a draft of the circular to be issued for the heads of institutions to identify the limits which can be facilitated for the officials and allocate necessary provisions for them in carrying out their duties out of goodwill and beyond the stipulated legal framework. Secretary to the Ministry of Justice MMPK Mayadunne explained the issues faced by the government officials when the measures taken by the Yahapalana government within an illegal framework. Chief of Prime Minister's staff Yoshitha Rajapaksa and heads of legal field were present at this occasion. Meanwhile, Minister Keheliya Rambukwella says the protest action taken up by the teachers while keeping children as collateral during this period is highly unfair. He made these remarks while addressing the media briefing held to announce the cabinet decisions today. Minister Keheliya Rambukwella said that a vaccination program has been commenced for 241,000 of the teacher community. He said that they were able to initiate this program amidst many challenges and limitations for the betterment of the children. The minister further said that the public should decide whether it is justifiable for the teachers to engage in such actions for the issues of a couple of people. The minister said that the government has taken the initiative to introduce 16 channels for the education of children in each grade, as well as for Pirivan education and education for children with special needs. He added that such measures cannot be taken up within a day. Therefore, he further added that many measures have been taken for the benefit of the children. The minister pointed out that those who are engaged in such actions are at fault for taking trivial decisions without studying the KDU Act during this challenging period of time.
අරගෙන රටේ ජනතාවගේ මෙවැනි මහා විනාශයක් තියෙන වෙලාවක ආර්ථිකයක් එක්ක සටන් කරන වෙලාවක ජීවිතයයි මරණයයි එක්ක සටන් කරන වෙලාවක අපේ පැත්තෙන් කාගේ පැත්තෙන් ඔය වැරද්ද නම් වැරද්ද ඒ නිසා ඒව නිවැරදි කරනවා වෙනුවට 43 ලක්ෂයක් මේ රටේ ඉන්න දරුවන් ඒ දරුවන් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන තමන්ගේ ගුරු දේවයන් හැටියට ඉන්න කණ්ඩායම මෙහෙවනවා නම් කාරු හරි කීප දෙනෙක් මගේ විශ්වාසය මගේ දැනුම තාමත්ම කාලකන්ණි කණ්ඩායමක් හැටියට මම සලකන්න වෙන සමාවෙන්න ඕනේ මේ වචනේ පාවිච්චි කරන්න සාමාන්‍ය මේ පාවිච්චි කරන්න.
The minister also said that the present government will resolve issues only within the legal framework. Minister Kehliya Rambukwella said that the government regrets over the claims of the opposition leader for citing that a secret meeting was held with lawyers over a media institution. He said that these claims are baseless. He said that such measures will be taken up to discuss on issues relevant to the subject ministry within the legal framework. He further said that the present government would not resort to such illegal measures similar to the previous government and its activities to create legal cases against various entities. The minister said that the channels are public properties. Therefore, if those channels fail to act towards the national harmony and betterment of the people, then legal action has to be taken against them.
ඒ කණ්ඩායම හරහා අහවලාට නඩු දාන්න ඕනේ. නඩුව හදන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා කතා කරන ක්‍රමවේදයක් පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම ක්‍රමවේදයක් වර්තමාන රජයේ සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම බැහැර කරලා. හැබැයි යම්කිසි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒ ප්‍රශ්නය විසඳා ගැනීම පිණිස නීති උපදෙස් අරගෙන නීතිය රාමුව තුල ක්‍රියාත්මක සංඛ්‍යාත සියල්ල එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ channel සියල්ල ජනතාව සතු දේපල බොහොම පැහැදිලිව කියන්නට ඕනේ. ඒ ප්‍රකාශය පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේම විපක්ෂ මන්ත්‍රීවරයෙක් බොහොම පැහැදිලිව කිව්වා මේවා ජනතාව සතු දේවල් භාවිතය රටේ සාමය නැති කරන්න කතා කරනවා නම් ජාතීන් අතර අසමගිය ඇති කරන්න කතා කරනවා නම් යම් කාලයක LTT ත්‍රස්තවාදයේ තියෙන වෙලාව ඒකට උඩ ගෙඩි දෙන්න කතා කරා නම් එවැනි දේවල් වලදී නියත වශයෙන්ම නීතියේ රාමුව තුල ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න මාධ්‍ය ඇමතිවරයා හැටියට සිටින තාක්කල් ඒ වෙනුවෙන් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න අවශ්‍ය නම් ඒ ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රමාණය තුල නීතියේ
Remarks were made on those who have been directed to quarantine after taking part in demonstrations. Minister Ramesh Patirana said that there is no issue pertaining to freedom of speech and the government has no interest to limit or prohibit freedom of speech. He said that these individuals were directed to quarantine following the recommendations of the public health officials.
The Cabinet of Ministers has granted approval to provide an incentive worth 12,500 rupees per hectare for the farmers who are engaged in the production of organic fertilizer. The relevant proposal was presented by Minister Mahindananda Alutgawage. The need for organic fertilizer prevails for the paddy cultivation up to 800,000 hectares during this Maha season. Accordingly, Ministry of Agriculture has initiated a program for the production of organic fertilizer. Steps have already been taken to increase the quantity of organic fertilizer produced by licensed producers and direct farmers to produce quality organic fertilizer up to standards. Accordingly, the government is expecting to provide an incentive worth 12,500 rupees for the farmers, limited to only 2 hectares to produce organic fertilizer. The government has decided to establish 9 units covering each province to video record evidence of children who are victims of abuse. A victimized child faces numerous issues when recording evidence before the courts in public. The aim of this initiative is to present the evidence in the video recorded format. This unit has already been established with the National Child Protection Authority, and steps have been taken to establish more units affiliated to hospitals on provincial level. The Cabinet of Ministers granted approval for the proposal presented by the Minister of Finance to table a report on the mid-year financial assessment to the Parliament. Accordingly, the Minister of Finance, in line with the Public Financial Management Act, the report on the mid-year financial assessment will be issued to the public at the end of the month of July each year. The Cabinet of Ministers already granted approval to provide relief to attract digital tourists. Tourists who travel around the world while using digital technology for their livelihoods are considered as digital tourists. Providing facilities for such tourists has developed into a trend of the tourism sector in the recent past. The aim of this project is to attract such tourists. The approval of the Cabinet of Ministers was granted for the proposal presented to prepare a strategic plan for the promotion of the use of electric vehicles in the country. More than 8 million vehicles have been registered in the country, and considerable number of vehicles is over 10 years old. It has been confirmed that 60% of the air pollution in Sri Lanka has been due to the emissions of vehicles. One of the priority tasks of the government is to accelerate the implementation of renewable energy projects. Therefore, the government aspires to use such energy for vehicles.
An organic fertilizer production project was initiated in Valevela Moragahakanda, Mahaveli zone yesterday. The objective of this project is to produce 850 metric tons of fertilizer. Taking part in this occasion, State Minister Siripala Gamlat said that this project expects to provide organic and liquid fertilizer for 450 farmer families. The State Minister also emphasized on the importance for the farmers to produce organic fertilizer in their own home gardens. 2 large plots in Nochayagama and Kallankatti areas in Anuradhapura have been allocated for 2 organic fertilizer production projects. It was conducted with the participation of Minister S.M. Chandrasena. Sri Lanka Mahaveli Authority has taken steps to initiate centers to produce organic fertilizer in 10 zones. Accordingly, 840 metric tons of fertilizer is expected to be produced within 3 months period. This project is expected to provide benefits for 700 farmers.
The first harvest of the 200-acre cultivation of chilies conducted with the assistance of Sri Lanka Army was reaped today. A stock of 1,000 kilos of dry chilies is expected to be handed over to the government under the first phase of this initiative. The government bears a heavy expenditure for the importation of chilies, and as a solution for this issue, the government has introduced such large-scale projects. Accordingly, chilies cultivation has been carried out in Vaunia, Settikulam, Andya Pulliyankulam Army base camps. State Minister Janaka Wakkumara was also present at this occasion.
Minister Prasanna Rantunga says that the first phase of the expansion project of the Bandaranaike International Airport in Katunayake is expected to be completed within 3 years. The minister made these remarks while taking part in an observational tour at the construction site. The present capacity for the handling of passengers at the Bandaranaike International Airport in Katunayake is at 7 million per year. Accordingly, the capacity expected to increase up to 15 million per year with the inclusion of the second passenger terminal. The first phase of this project consists of second passenger terminal building and other affiliated buildings, passenger bridges, elevated roads, electricity and water supply, waste management system, and a 5-story car park consisting of related equipment. Minister Namal Rajapaksa and State Minister D.V. Chanaka were present at this occasion. The modernization project of the cascade system related to Mahaweva in Palapatwala belonging to Yapahuwa electoral division was commenced today. Under the participation of Minister Mahindananda Alutkamage, State Minister D.B. Herath was also present at this occasion. And that's all the stories for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow at the very same time. Until then, stay safe and good night.
Good night.